Alright guys, welcome back to Formula 1 news, and Mercedes have arguably brought the most upgrades of any team here to the Belgian Grand Prix, but they haven't exactly converted as yet into lighting up the timesheets. Both Russell and Hamilton not exactly happy with the car's performance so far, but looking back at Hungary, they still have confidence they can turn it this weekend around, especially within the different conditions that the rest of the weekend should offer. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always. First of all, to mention this, we've talked about a potential big upgrade. We don't really know what it is for Mercedes, but they have confirmed, or at least it has been revealed, that there is a different floor. So it seems like Russell is the one now running the new experiments. So they give Russell the new floor today. Hamilton had the older version, you guys can see here at the bottom, different shape on the back. Of course, look, if the floor is really changed, it'll be on the underside of the floor, where the biggest differences will be in the Venturi tunnels and such, which may still be coming soon, who really knows. But yeah, this is another angle of it, where the floor is now different on Russell's car than it was on Hamilton's. It did kind of seem to work out for Russell over Hamilton in the first practice session, not so much though in the second one. And well, as we shall see here, also other teams have brought changes, McLaren being the other big one. So McLaren and Mercedes, the two teams who have brought the most new parts to this weekend. As you can see, new rear wing, new beam wing for McLaren, both low downforce spec, as makes sense as the season progresses. The car, you know, does a better job of generating downforce on the whole. You can reduce the rear wing angle, of course critical to try and overtake around Spa as well on the Kemmel straight. McLaren have brought a diffuser, a new rear wing, a beam wing, rear brake winglet, all this type of stuff. They brought a load of different stuff. Now Mercedes, also along these same lines. New front wing end plate, floor fence and edge, rear wing flap and tips, and of course, yeah, that's the new floor that we looked at for George Russell. Red Bull have brought a couple of new things. Ferrari have that new rear wing we looked at earlier today. All the stuff on McLaren, a couple of things on Alpine, Alfa Tauri, Aston Martin, Alfa Romeo, and Haas, and also Williams as well. So yes, a load of teams that bring in some new things here after the summer break, but Mercedes and McLaren arguably have brought the most, especially among the teams that should be competing for podiums potentially, depending on how crazy the race is here on Sunday. And as I said, in first practice, it seemed to be working at least better for George Russell than it was for Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton was a fair bit off the pace, and George Russell 0.8 behind Carlos Sainz, who was leading the line in that particular session. Session 2, though, was a rather different story, especially because the Mercedes pair tried the hard tyres. Not that many teams actually tried this out, and I mean, look, obviously the hard tyres weren't particularly good, so I'm sure Ferrari is taking notes for when it gets to about lap 30 to put Charles Leclerc on the hard tyres for the end of the race, and he'll have no grip. But I mean, yeah, George Russell was struggling with it. I can't get any temp in these tyres, he was saying. Now, this was a similar issue that the Mercedes had out in Hungary, right, a couple of weeks ago, when it was wet, it was rainy, it was cold, and the cars just couldn't generate any temperature in the tyres, which has been a big downfall for Mercedes so far. But I do remember back in Hungary, Toto Wolff after the weekend revealed that they went for a really aggressive option on, I think, Friday night into qualifying on Saturday, to just take a risk of a suspension decision, I imagine, to try and warm up the tyres quicker in the warmer conditions that they were on Saturday. That really paid off dividends, right, when George Russell was able to deliver pole, and Hamilton was topping a session there and could potentially have got pole himself if not for the DRS issue, which hampered his final lap. So maybe Mercedes have, you know, they've got experience with this situation. Difficult Friday with the tyres struggling to get into temperature. Take maybe an aggressive decision overnight, and of course come into tomorrow with warmer conditions, and maybe that will help the tyres, right? So I do think, as there usually is, more to come from Mercedes after a difficult Friday. But yeah, free practice 2 was far from better. Hamilton was actually the quicker driver in this session out of the two. 1.4 though behind Verstappen. Even the gap to the Ferraris wasn't pretty, but Max was just flying. I mean, a 1:45.5, way quicker than anyone else. Perez was down in 10th, about 2 seconds behind Max. So, I mean, yeah, that's probably quite the surprise. But still shows that Red Bull has a lot of pace, right? And Max said after the fact that, yeah, their car pretty much felt good from the first lap today. So other teams are certainly going to have that lap time as the benchmark for now. And, well, of course, but we do know, as we looked at earlier today, that Max, Leclerc and Norris will start from the back of the grid to Stroll, currently the fastest driver out there that is not taking a grid penalty. But yes, obviously not what Mercedes wanted at the end of the day. I'll share some reaction here from Lewis Hamilton and George Russell discussing exactly what went wrong. Like, Hamilton's like, look, I wish I knew why we weren't quick. Saying though the car feels okay, like it feels decent enough, like similar to how it did before really, but it's just not really been able to deliver the lap time. So the car feels alright, but it just doesn't have the performance in it right now. And I think a lot of that comes from the tyre temperatures, because as George Russell says, because, like, look, if we can get the tyres up to temperature here, we should be fine, but it's a matter of delivering on that.
I want to assume you were heavy on fuel this afternoon. Is that the case?
I would want to assume the same thing. I wouldn't say so, no. We're just not very quick. I don't know why.
Okay, so some work to do overnight. Is it salvageable? Is it condition related?
I really don't know. I mean, we're going out and giving it everything we've got. It's just, yeah, it could be tyres, it could be tyre temps, it could be wing level, it could be a multitude of things. So it doesn't feel disastrous out there. It's just we're a long way off. So, but we often find this on the Friday, and then things change a little bit more on Saturday. So I hope that that's the case.
Interesting how Sunday will play out with everyone taking penalties. You guys obviously not at risk of having to take anything over the course of the weekend. You're all okay?
I mean, everyone's at risk, but at the moment we're not taking any penalties. The team have done a great job on that. So yeah, so we've just got to work hard tonight to analyse the data, try and figure out where we can get with this car. It doesn't feel the same as it did at the last track like in qualifying kind of time, but Friday and Saturday morning it feels kind of similar to that now. So that gives me hope that we can turn it around.
You were mentioning struggling with the tyre temperatures out there. Was that just the conditions, or is that something that's linked to the car setup?
I think it's something we've struggled with quite a lot this season, to get the temperature into the tyres. I struggled quite a lot today with that on every compound we use. So in these conditions, it's definitely something we need to work on. But it's something I know that you can find a huge amount of performance when you get it in the right window. So there's a little bit of optimism there, but for sure the gap to Max and the Ferraris is pretty extravagant. Can you find a little bit tomorrow? Yeah, I mean, we're pretty used to having bad Fridays, so let's see if we can turn it around. But I don't think there'll be any guarantees we can find the performance that we found in the last race, let's say. But we'll all be working flat out tonight to try and get on top of it. But totally different day tomorrow. Conditions will be very, very different. So let's see what it brings.
So that's the question then going into Saturday. Tomorrow it should be less rainy. It should be, certainly the sun should be out tomorrow, and Sunday the temperatures should be warmer. Conditions that should suit Mercedes a bit better. But as I say, I think this comes down to, at least to some degree, what setup decisions Mercedes decide to make overnight. Because back in Hungary, they went for a high-risk approach. Their Friday was awful. They were like the slowest car on the grids. Their Saturday morning was not much better either. But they made a decision. They went pretty balls to the wall, try and take a bit of a risk, and it paid off for them. And I remember what Toto Wolff said, that they write down everything they did on that Saturday and that Friday night to make sure the car was ready to go. So maybe after Friday here, they're going to look at that list of what they did overnight to make their car competitive on Saturday and do the same thing again. Whether it worked out to the same extent, who knows? But I'm sure there's confidence within the Mercedes camp. Now they've done it 3-4 weekends ago. They can do it again here in Spa, but it might be difficult to replicate that level of performance. Then again, they will need to, because look, this is theoretically their best chance of winning a Grand Prix this season. George Russell has set the target to be the highest scoring team of the second half of the season, which honestly is a pretty big target, but I think it's maybe an attainable one depending on how things go. If they can be joint fastest car on the grids, this certainly is an attainable goal, but at the same time it's going to be challenging if you can't start at the front. But with Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris starting from the back of the grid, this is a chance to take down, to actually win a race here for the Mercedes guys, and obviously they will be helped very much indeed if they can qualify ahead of Sergio Perez and of course Carlos Sainz, who's looked pretty good so far this weekend. Perez has been off the pace most certainly, but yeah, Carlos Sainz of course is sitting in a pretty comfortable position in that Ferrari, so look, we'll see how it goes of course for the Mercedes pair, but they are looking for the race win this weekend. It's probably more on the cards here than it will be potentially at any race from now to the end of the season, but they will need to be able to extract the pace to take down Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz theoretically at the front of the field, and a fair bit of that is going to come down to what happens here overnight before tomorrow. But theoretically, the upgrades, once maybe they get used to them on the Mercedes car, could provide a benefit over time. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you were new as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.